So the study determined that it is optimal to do 30 sets per body part per week for upper body muscles and 45 sets for lower body muscles. Think about that for a second. Let's say you're working 10 different muscle groups. So I'll pick a low average there. Let's say you're doing an average of 35 sets per body part. So that's 350 sets a week. You'd have to quit your job. Hi, my name is Jaquish. I'm a doctor of biomedical engineering, which gives me a unique perspective beyond what a lot of the sports science PhDs you see on YouTube or social media in general. I see it a little differently. Different research, different education, and I think I can bring some things together and help add clarity to a few different subjects. Exercise volume is one of these subjects that I think is there's a lot of things going on in that conversation, and there's a lot of arguments going on. And if you're not following, then good for you, because the arguing back and forth is not productive. It's a total waste of time. And a lot of people are not acting like gentlemen in this argument, which kind of just adds to the drama and doesn't do anything to get to conclusions. So I'm going to help you get to conclusions today. And there are two approaches to strength training. There's high intensity, which requires a lower volume of exercise, meaning how many sets you do. And then there is the higher volume way of doing it, which is much lower intensity. So you're not lifting to failure. You're putting the weight down before you get there, and you have to do lots and lots of sets. And let me just give you an example. Here's a study. One of the authors was Professor Brad Schoenfeld, who's a friend of mine. And I know he's an ethical guy. So a lot of people criticize this study and said there's no way this happened because the exercise volumes are just ridiculous. And they are. But I know Brad, and I know guys that came out of his lab, and they are ethical people, and there's no doubt in my mind that they did this study. So the study determined that it is optimal to do 30 sets per body part per week for upper body muscles and 45 sets for lower body muscles. Think about that for a second. Let's say you're working 10 different muscle groups. So I'll pick a low average there. Let's say you're doing an average of 35 sets per body part. So that's 350 sets a week. You'd have to quit your job and just live in the gym or spend your whole day in the gym to accomplish this. It's crazy. So apparently they did this, and individuals did grow muscle. Now, this is a way of doing it. It is not the wrong way. It's just a way of developing strength and muscle. Also, before I continue to high intensity, I'd like to point out strength and size are exactly the same thing when you're talking about well-developed athletes. The more developed somebody becomes, the stronger somebody becomes, their strength and size are very highly correlated. In the beginning, because everybody's different and some people seem to have bigger musculature that can or cannot produce similar outputs to similar individuals, as time goes on, it all matches up. So there's been a very strong effort from sports scientists to try and separate these two topics. And I don't think that's the right move. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's the same subject. And I think it was done in order to alleviate confusion. And all it's really done is add confusion. Which is why I'm making this video. Instead of volume, there is high intensity exercise, which is a much lower set volume, like maybe 10 sets per body part per week. Now, the much stronger bodybuilders have done this, and strength athletes, or athletes in general, if you talk about more than 10 sets per week per body part, they'll look at you like you're nuts. So like, other than bodybuilding, nobody trains like that. Nobody at all. It's kind of a silly conversation to have, but it's important because I think so many people are being pulled in one direction or the other. And I want everyone to know it's really the same subject. It's just a different approach. So you can go high intensity instead. So you train with high intensity, you do 10 sets per body part per week. Or you could go even higher intensity and take down the risk. Because the problem is, most people start off lifting, they train to momentary muscular fatigue. I think that's almost the natural way to lift. You got to push yourself. And in fact, you're looking around, anybody who's strong in a gym is probably training to fatigue. So you start doing this. Once somebody builds a significant level of strength, like let's say they got to get under a squat bar that's got 500 pounds on it, that makes you really concerned with injury. So a lot of these guys, like if you look at your favorite bodybuilder or whatever, and they're doing this massive volume program and they're in the gym all day, well, right. But that's not how they got there. They're doing that in order to avoid injury, because high intensity it's easy when you're, a 110 pound, 15-year-old. But when you're a 250 pound, 30-year-old, yeah, now all of a sudden you're getting under some huge weights and something could go wrong. So that's why individuals have been gravitating. And I think also a lot of these sports science PhDs, you're older when you get your PhD. You've been training a long time. So now all of a sudden this high intensity, all about the logbook, always beating your records, now that seems kind of scary and maybe even reckless. My approach is neither of these options. What I do is go even higher intensity than high intensity, but I lower the risk. And how do I do this? Variable resistance. So variable resistance, and you notice I'm wearing my Westside Barbell shirt. Westside Barbell pioneered this. Louis Simmons is really the one who deserves all the credit. So training with a massive amount of variance. Now, check out the video of me doing a chest press. You can see me going to fatigue multiple times in one set. Now you might imagine that's going to do a lot for muscle stimulus. Well, you would be imagining correctly, because there's a study. Dr. Sean Conley performed a study, and he and I presented this data at Wayne State University recently, where we're using high ratio variable resistance, specifically with X3. So individuals would do a set just like you saw me do, and they were able to cut down their exercise volume away from a high intensity program, cut it from there by 80%, so that they were doing in the study, it was like 10 or 15 minutes. I do about 40 minutes a day. So I'm doing more than just the sort of abbreviated standard X3 program. But these individuals in sort of ACSM, not sort of, it was the ACSM recommended muscle hypertrophy program. That was one group. The test group used X3, 1 set per body part per exercise, and you hit every body part 2 times in a week. I mean, really like 2 sets per body part per week. They grew the same. Actually, the X3 was a little bit more, but not statistically significant more. So it was the same amount of muscle growth, or similar amount of muscle growth, with 80% less time exercising. When you do variable resistance, you're taking the musculature beyond what would be seen as regular momentary muscular failure, because you get more instances of momentary muscular failure in every set that you do. And you're doing that with a fresh muscle. When you're working out a fresh muscle, taking a fresh muscle to momentary muscular fatigue, the stimulus is obviously going to be more powerful, because you have more contractile fuels, the ATP, the glycogen, the creatine phosphate in the cells, in the muscle cells, to facilitate these contractions. Later on in your workout, you don't have that. You just got a couple shots at it, maybe one or two per workout, to just devastate the muscle with the diminishing range in one set. If you do that, you're prioritizing strength, which is going to get you where you want to go from a muscular size perspective. in all cases. No exceptions to that. You just have to continue developing. This will have you spend far less time. I mean, like I said, I'm working out. I'm doing the same thing that the Westside Barbell guys are having the NFL doing. I'm following that same program. I'm gaining muscle. My joints feel fantastic. I could not feel better. And if you're doubting what I'm saying, which you should, because I sell this product, so you should listen to my customers, not to me. Go to the X3 Bar users group on Facebook, and you can see 40,000 people that are talking about this exact subject, and they're succeeding by using variable resistance provided by X3. Check it out. And I hope this video helped, and I hope I could condense all that volume, information, and debate into a very short period of time so you don't waste your time looking at multiple hour videos, which are also out there on YouTube. Leave a comment. If you think I'm wrong, tell me that you think I'm wrong, and we'll debate about it. See you on the next one.
If this video helped you, I want you to subscribe and follow. I'm going to put out videos on a regular basis. I think they're going to help a whole lot of people, especially if you're one of those people that doesn't just instantly grow from lifting regular weights. We've got the answer for you.